What if events had unfolded differently on the second Death Star, when Luke Skywalker fought Darth Vader and the Emperor? What do you think would have happened? Welcome back to another Star Wars fan fiction, but this time I'm doing something that I haven't done before with this franchise. It's an interactive Star Wars video, where you get to choose your path. You get to choose in the description down below with the timestamps on what you want the story to be. Let me know in the comments down below what choice you made and why you made your choice. That being said, I will continue this format on this channel. It's a very unique format, and I'm very glad to get back into interactive content. Do make sure to subscribe, like, share if you enjoy, and I will be doing a Revenge of the Sith one next, so stay tuned for that and have those notifications on. But anyways, it is time to choose your destiny. Choice A. Vader lives. When Luke begged for Vader's help, the Emperor didn't think that Vader would give in. He was too caught up in his own pride and arrogance to sense the change in his heart that Vader had. Luke was on the ground, the Emperor shooting bolts of Force lightning at him. He took his time with it, his face contorted with a wicked joy as he toyed with his prey, torrent after torrent of Force lightning. Luke was slowly dying while pleading for Vader to save him. Vader looked back and forth between the two, wondering who he should side with. That was when Anakin Skywalker broke free. Grabbing the Emperor and hoisting him above his head, lightning made contact with his body until he managed to throw the Emperor down the shaft. It exploded in a sea of sparks. Vader leaning over the railing with his hand cut off and his breathing more jarred than it was before. Luke never gave up. He took Vader to a shuttle, departing as fast as possible, while giving Vader what little emergency supplies the shuttle had. Vader did what he could, preserving his life until they returned to Endor. The Death Star was gone. The Emperor was gone with it. Vader and Luke were on Endor, where Leia and the others were waiting. Although Vader wished to meet Leia again, he knew that he wasn't worthy of such a privilege. He urged Luke to go meet with his friends. Vader opted to stay in the shuttle and hide while reflecting on his past actions. Overwhelmed with remorse, Vader slipped away into the woods. He vanished. He exiled himself and practiced meditating every day. His health was rapidly declining, but he attempted to use his limited time to reconnect with Obi-Wan and Yoda. Every day for over a year he meditated and practiced. Although he knew meditation wouldn't redeem him for the horrendous acts he committed over the years, he continued in hopes he could at least reconnect with his past. Eventually Vader's plan worked, and Obi-Wan came to him in a form of a Force ghost. He sat by Vader's side and the two spoke on the good old days and the Clone Wars. Anakin apologized over and over again for his misdeeds. Obi-Wan was hesitant to forgive him, thanks to all that was lost in the days of the Empire. Regardless of his feelings, Obi-Wan remained level-headed and consulted Vader, praising him for bringing balance to the Force. In the end, Skywalker made the right decision and saved the galaxy. With that peace of mind, Anakin knew he could pass away without fear. For the last few days that Anakin lived, he kept meditating and sang words to Obi-Wan. He hoped he would get through him. He whispered apologies to every Jedi that he slaughtered and everyone, and every planet he caused chaos on. Luke and Leia stayed near each other, and Luke told him about Anakin's state. Luke never stopped looking for his father, and the increased activity in the Force led Luke back to Endor. Leia insisted on coming, so he took her with him. They found Vader in the woods, living in isolation. Anakin was once again terrified, but Luke was as patient as ever and explained why Leia was there. Skywalker apologized to her as well, Luke reassuring her that he was no threat anymore. She was trembling, but managed to trust that she wouldn't be harmed. They sat together, speaking one more time. Luke asked about their mother, and Anakin was happy to tell them everything. He tapped into his past, telling them every last detail about Padme. When their time was finally up, Vader went to rest. Luke honored him and thanked him for saving the galaxy. He burned what was left of the armor as a way to shed Anakin from his sins. He hoped that would bring a calm to the deceased Anakin Skywalker, knowing that his armor would never be used to harm anybody again. Luke and Leia watched the flames with heavy hearts, and Anakin slipped away to join the Force Ghosts. He felt as though he didn't earn it, but Obi-Wan and Yoda assured him that he brought peace and balance to the Force, like he was meant to. Choice B. Vader kills Luke Skywalker. While dueling in the throne room of the Death Star, Luke and Darth Vader were clashing their swords together. As the Emperor watched with a smirk, Luke was determined to turn his father back to the light. Although, during the fight, Luke got caught up with his emotions. When he realized his friends were in danger, he fought harder to save them. They reached a single metal walkway and continued to clash. Luke almost got the upper hand, bashing his sword over Vader's over and over again. But Vader held his ground. Instead of focusing on blocking, Vader used the Force to pull the railing from off the left side of the walkway. Luke, confused and too caught up in his rage, fell into it. Vader slammed the railing against the back of Luke's knee, causing him to lose balance. Vader pulled the same move he did back on Cloud City. He sliced through Luke's hand, the lightsaber flying away. Luke fell to the ground, kneeling before his father. The Emperor was laughing as he stood, clapping and pitter-pattering down the steps. The scarlet light illuminating from Vader's lightsaber was next to Luke's neck. He stared at his father with no remorse or disappointment in his eyes. Once more, Luke appealed to his father's humanity, telling him it wasn't too late to return to the light. The Emperor mocked him for his foolish beliefs, praising his apprentice for the job well done. Darth Vader was still conflicted on the matter, but he knew he was far past redemption. He knew there was no way he could restore peace to the galaxy. He had lost all hope. Part of Vader wondered why Luke didn't lose that hope in him, but he didn't have long to think about it, since the Emperor ordered him to kill his son. As the lightsaber hovered over Luke's head, he hesitated, much to the Emperor's dismay. Vader gazed at Luke from behind his mask. It was a strange thing, really. Vader swore Luke looked like the fallen Anakin Skywalker. It was like looking into a mirror. The rage from that image boiled inside of him, and he swiped the lightsaber to the side, decapitating Luke. Luke was gone, slain by Vader. The regret blossomed into his chest for a fleeting moment. Then the Emperor cackled, and Vader came closer. He went, following his master, to the top of the stairs. The rebellion was about to be wiped out, if not by the new Death Star, then by the stormtroopers raiding Endor. However, their plans went awry when the shields went down and a fleet charged the Death Star. The Emperor assigned Vader to the task. He got into his ship and personally saw to it that the rebels would perish. As expected, Lord Vader successfully, with his fleet behind him, they executed the rebel threat and went to Endor to prove a point, and they got more support to the ground for troops. The battle was finished in an hour. The rebels were caught and either executed on the spot or taken into custody. From there, the galaxy returned to normal activity. The Empire continued to construct the second Death Star, while the rebellion was scrambling to find the resources to repair what they lost. Dark times were coming for the rebels, and with the last hope gone, there was low morale. Vader kept Leia captive until the Emperor questioned his motives. Vader made as many excuses as he could, but eventually they drained Leia dry from any information on the rebels. After they executed her as well, the other living rebels had the same fate as her. Through it all, Darth Vader tried not to feel conflicted. His emotions were jumbled together until he couldn't identify himself anymore. They became prominent enough for the Emperor to notice and take interest. Although Vader assured the Emperor that he was fine, his master didn't believe him and put him through a series of tests he barely passed. Vader's mental state was distorting. The Emperor monitored him closely until the madness got to the Dark Lord. He saw his children's faces every night in his dreams. He snapped, and the Emperor was prepared. The Emperor ambushed Vader with all of the power that he had, ending his life after a grueling battle. The Emperor was close to losing, but his plans gave him the advantage. If he waited any longer, he would have died by Vader's hand. From there, the Empire continued business as usual. They sniffed out the Rebel Alliance, until it was the size of a tiny village at best. The Emperor was searching for a new apprentice, turning to the Inquisitors to find one, at least until he could find one more powerful than he could imagine. So he waited for the right one to come. Choice C. Luke kills Vader. Luke was a powerful Jedi with the strength to knock down even the fierce Darth Vader. They fought in the throne room on the second Death Star. The Emperor laughed and encouraged the fight to happen, whispering words to Luke if to convince him to fall to the dark side. Luke, for a brief moment, gave into that side of himself. His lightsaber swinging became more rapid than ever before. Vader struggled to keep up with Luke's superior speed. As Vader weakened his defense, Luke became more aggressive. Rage flew out of his body, in the form of sword strokes, each clash sending Vader into a spiral of agony. The swings built and built, until Vader's hand flew off, the lightsaber going with it. Luke listened to the breaths of his father. It was hard for him to breathe. For a moment, he allowed himself to bask in the glory of defeating the Sith Lord. However, his moment became twisted with guilt when he realized what he had done. The Emperor, on the other hand, was overwhelmed with joy. He wanted to turn Luke to the dark side, and he whispered right into his ear about all the monstrosities Vader had done. Luke stared at the mask while raising his sword with a trembling hand. His eyes were twitching, sweat staining his body until it dripped down his face. Luke Skywalker's father was gone, and what replaced him was the monster known as Darth Vader. Luke didn't wish to kill him or give up on his father, but he wasn't going to give up. How could he give up on someone who wasn't there? He truly believed his father was gone from the galaxy. With those thoughts in mind, and with the help of the Emperor's haunting words, Luke brought the lightsaber down. He struck the final blow. Now his friends were safe. Everyone he knew and loved were safe. But at what cost? Luke was quivering. His eyes fell to the hand that executed the final blow. His gloved hand stared back at him, as if taunting him, the Emperor doing the same from behind him. Although Luke didn't wish to fight the Emperor, he knew it was the last step needed to ensure peace for the galaxy. When he turned to charge at Palpatine, he was met with an unexpected bolt of lightning that disabled him. He fell to the ground and dropped his lightsaber, the Emperor shooting torrents of Force lightning at him until he thought he'd pass out. The Emperor came over, taking his lightsaber. Then he imprisoned Luke. Luke was determined not to fall to the dark side. But over time, that proved difficult. The Emperor took him from the Death Star and tortured him every day. He showed Luke the power of the Force, and how hopeless Luke's situation was. Luke had hoped he could escape, or at least hope that someone would come for him. There was an attempt to rescue Skywalker. He heard the gunfire, but the attempt was thwarted. Not long after it begun, the Emperor made sure that Luke saw the corpse of each rebel that he tried to save. Luke wasn't sure what happened after he was taken from the Death Star. The Emperor only told him the negative news about the rebellion. A huge rebel base was destroyed. Mon Mothma was killed. More planets were falling under the Empire's control. As far as Luke could tell, the galaxy was a mess. Whenever the Emperor came and told him news about such things, the fire inside Luke only grew more. He was eager to escape and help his friends. As much as escape seemed impossible, he knew it was feasible if he thought outside the box. He was held in a dark room where the only lights were a maroon hue illuminating from the floor that was shaped in his signature Empire symbol. There was only one door, and it was directly across from him. He was hooked up to a contraption where he couldn't move his hands. Even his torso had belt straps around it to keep him in place. All of his plans changed when the Emperor brought his footage of the rebellion dying. Han and Chewbacca were slaughtered, same with his sister Leia, and the leaders of the Resistance. With the rebellion in shambles, Luke finally broke and lost all hope. The Emperor groomed him for his role, and Luke fulfilled his duties of Vader. After years of torture and conditioning, Luke finally snapped. The Emperor was disappointed with how long it took, but he was overjoyed with the results. Luke was a more agile and deadlier version of Vader. His potential was astonishing, and Palpatine took advantage. Every planet that had even the slightest of resistance to the Empire's plans were destroyed by Skywalker. The Emperor sent Luke to each spot with rebel activity. This caused the rebellion to die. Palpatine ruled the galaxy and watched it more closely than before. Luke was by his side for years until he realized he could overthrow Palpatine. He was gaining more experience, and he had the element of surprise on his side. One night, Luke ambushed Palpatine, resulting in a duel that killed countless troopers and officers, who were caught in the crossfire. Palpatine used the troops and officers as human shields, but Luke caught them like they were nothing. After much back and forth and numerous injuries, Luke came victorious. Luke became the Emperor of the galaxy. The light was drained from his soul, and all that remained was the dark side that he was subjected to for years. He became a shell of who he used to be, an agent of evil, unknowingly played into Palpatine's hand. Although the Emperor was dead, Luke was still accomplishing his goals as the galaxy's new leader. Choice D. Palpatine wins. The Emperor was a formidable opponent with a lust for power. His downfall was his arrogance. He believed there was no one who could stand in his way. As Vader and Luke dueled before him, he knew how the fight would end. No matter who won, Palpatine would be the ultimate victor. If Luke Skywalker died, Palpatine still had Vader. If Vader died, he could seduce the young Skywalker to the dark side. The boy was still impressive. He was very powerful too. Palpatine cackled while observing the fight. Luke was showing off all he had learned. With more training, he would wield the dark side well. Palpatine was planning it in his mind. The lessons, the trainings, the results. Skywalker could be his new apprentice. As valuable as Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker was, he had limitations thanks to his suit, not to mention how much of a needless expense it was if he had a younger replacement right in front of him. In a way, Palpatine found himself hoping Luke would win. And when Luke pinned Vader down, he got his wish. He watched with a grin as Luke pondered his lightsaber against Vader's. Seconds later, Vader's hands flew off, his lightsaber falling down, a shaft the Emperor couldn't see. As the Emperor laughed, Luke stared down at his hand and staggered away from Vader's dying body. The Emperor rose from his throne, letting his cloak drape down his body while he trekked down the stairs. The walkway creaked as he came by, observing both Luke and Vader. This was his chance to recruit Skywalker and leave Vader to die. That was what he did. He spoke all the right words to Luke, yet it didn't work. Luke was resistant, refusing to aid the Emperor in his plans. He even threw away his lightsaber. Enraged, the Emperor struck him down with lightning. Vader hoisted up himself, but the Emperor had no use for him anymore. He lost to a young Jedi, so the Emperor used lightning on his apprentice as well. Darth Vader fell back, his breathing jarred, his suit sparking. Luke begged the Emperor to stop, but he never did. Palpatine used his abilities to torture both of them. Taking turns, he gave Luke and Vader temporarily relief, only to give them twice as much pain when he returned. He toyed with his food, messing around until he realized he still had other rebels to deal with after this experience. He killed Vader, torturing Luke until he could barely move. With that, he put Luke in captivity, only for alarms to go off. Confused, Palpatine got mad. Palpatine scoured the area to find out what was happening. As it turned out, they were under attack. Although Palpatine was confident they could annihilate the rebel threat, he was no fool. With that, he departed the Death Star and moved Luke from captivity to his shuttle. The regards on the broken boy at all times, as Palpatine moved away from the Death Star. Not long after, it was destroyed. Palpatine groaned from the result of the battle, but he knew it wasn't over. Not yet. The second Death Star used up too much of their resources, but not all of them. While they went to a safe location, Palpatine planned ahead. He had a backup plan in case the second Death Star was destroyed, but he had hoped he wouldn't have to use it. Now he was stuck in that position. At least part of his plan went well. He had the Skywalker boy in custody, and Vader was no more. He was certain he could turn Skywalker to the dark side with time and patience. The next step was slaughtering his friends in front of him. So, that was what Palpatine set out to do. He gave the Empire the leader it needed. There was much chaos after the second Death Star was destroyed, but Palpatine organized his troops and continued to keep the galaxy in order. Palpatine decided against building another Death Star. If both were destroyed, it wasn't worth risking the materials and credits to build another one. Once again, it could get destroyed. He focused his efforts in other areas. He built more Star Destroyers and increased security on planets with high rebel activity. Beyond that, he searched for the rebel, Leia Organa. While all those plans were active, Palpatine tortured Skywalker and took the steps necessary to drive him mad with rage. Luke never gave up though, through it all. Although the process was taking longer than expected, Palpatine was still confident he could turn Luke. It took over a year of searching and building, but Palpatine caught the rebels. Instead of having a specific base, they were lying low and using their command ships to move around. He found many of those command ships in the Outer Rim, but he was impressed when he found the ship containing Leia. He took her in and tortured her, extracting all of the information he could about the rebels. When he was confident he gained all of the information he needed, he brought her to Luke Skywalker, allowing them to stay together. After days of toying with them, he came in and executed Leia and left her body inside Luke's cell to rot. That was what broke Luke. Although he didn't turn to the dark side, he lost much of his hope inside of him. There was a tiny spark still inside of him, but the death of Leia was also the death of his spirit. Palpatine had won once again. He wiped out many of the rebel ships after getting the information out of Leia. He broke Luke and he destroyed the morale of the rebels. Once again, the galaxy was dominated by the Empire, and the Emperor was looking for a next weapon that he could build. And that is going to be it for the Return of the Jedi Star Wars Interactive What If. If you enjoy these interactive what ifs, where you can choose your own path and you have 4 choices, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. That being said, I do want to say thank you so much for the support. I cannot thank you enough. I know these interactive what ifs are very unique. It's something that's never been done before, and so far it's exclusively on this channel for all to see. I will be taking a ton of different requests such as Duel of the Fates, Palpatine's Office. There's gonna be a ton of them. A lot of them are already in pre-production, so I cannot wait to get that out to you. That being said, I got a lot more content with Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. Do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. That being said, take care and have a fantastic day.